Stockport County won promotion from the National League North in 2019. They won promotion from the National League into the EFL in 2022. They won promotion from League Two in 2024. Can 2025 hold yet another promotion for the Hatters? They've been on a very impressive journey. It hasn't been a fairy tale quite, because we all know that Stockport County have had a lot of investment thanks to the excellent running of the club from Mr. Stott. However, I think there's some great work being done by Dave Challoner, and they're building a very exciting squad. So, is back-to-back promotions at Edgeley Park a realistic proposition? That's what we're going to be discussing on this Summer Deep Dive. Yes, welcome along to the latest EFL Debate Summer Deep Dive, one of 72 we're doing across the EFL between mid-June and mid-July. Already a few uploaded to YouTube and Spotify for League 2, and a few for League 1 as well. So go get yourself subscribed once you're done with this one. For now, I'm delighted to be joined by Russ from the Scarf Bergara Wore podcast on Stockport County. Russ, good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate your time. It's been an incredible journey for Stockport County, and I guess the question is, can there be another chapter in League One?
I think there's an outside chance, but that's not really what we're aiming for this season or next season, going into next season. We've definitely signed for the future, I think. So, recent interviews with the club, with Mr. Stott, with Mark Stott and Simon Wilson, they say, we want to build investment in players that can give us value at the point at which we sell them. So growing it that way. So, it's been, there's no sort of drama about it. We have a 3-year plan to get into the Championship. So from my perspective, and I think a lot of county fans as well, I think we'd be happy with top half finish, to be honest. Anything above that would be a bonus. So outside chance of double bounce, but it's not really now thinking, I don't think.
No, I think that makes sense. And I think there comes a stage where after being one of the big fishes in the league, if you like, in terms of both club size, I suppose, but also financially, there probably comes a time where you have got to start thinking a bit more long term. You mentioned Mark Stott there. Just what an incredible job that he's done for Stockport County.
Yeah, it's just been amazing. And I think as soon as he came in January 2020, he sort of set out his vision of what he wanted to achieve, which was the Championship within 7 years. He's delivered on every promise that he's made. So the ground, again, the plans are out. We're going to go up to 18,000 within a few years. Gradually with the club going into League One and being sustainable there, and then into the Championship is the aim. The training ground, we've got a Championship training ground at the moment, and that is a stopgap to having a proper one, proper training ground in the borough. Yeah, exactly. It's a training ground that's had a huge investment, and that is just a stopgap to getting our own training ground in the borough. The academy is coming on nicely. I think we're at Cat 3, possibly Cat 2. I might have to check up on that. So he's building the infrastructure around it, as well as investing on the pitch as well. But he's investing wisely. We're not going gung ho, spending millions on players that are going to do the business now. There's definitely one eye on investing in the future. So all towards aiming for a sustainable model. So yeah, really excited. Love Mark Stott. I've met him personally. He's such a great guy as well. He's not plastering himself all over the media. So, he does it quietly behind the scenes, and it's just wonderful considering we were playing. Everyone says it, Colwyn Bay away, in 2014, 2015 or whatever, and now we're going to Birmingham City away. So yeah, absolutely loving it.
As a Birmingham City fan, I'm very flattered that you see us as the what do you call it, the pinnacle. It's very rare that people consider going to St Andrews as the pinnacle. But no, I think it's really exciting that what you've achieved. And I guess another huge person behind the last few years has been Dave Challoner. So just talk to us about again the amazing work that Dave has done at Edgeley Park.
Yeah, well, Dave's been amazing, and we're probably going to lose him at one point. I mean, obviously we're going to lose him at some point, but hopefully later rather than sooner. He's just been great, and again, I've spoken to him, I've interviewed him myself. He's so sort of down to earth, if you like, and very straight laced. You see some managers that talk the talk. He definitely doesn't do that. He's very matter of fact. So yeah, you can see why the players respond to him, and the players that we get in are of a certain ilk, because he does demand a lot of them, but it's mutual respect, and it's great to see. It's got to be said as well. I mentioned him before, but Simon Wilson sort of plays into that as well. He got a bit of stick when he first came in, obviously with the Jim Gannon episode, but since Challoner's come in, he identified Challoner. He was his first choice. Challoner, as soon as he came in that Bolton away match in the FA Cup when we were in the National League, you could see the change in the players with the the players that we had at that point. So, and then the players that he's bringing in now, you look at the ones that he's bringing in. I'm sure we'll come on to them, but they are just players that you cannot you can't not be excited by them, because there's so much potential in the players that he's bringing in, and you can see why those players will fit the Challoner way. So. Yeah, we're just enjoying the ride. Looking forward to next season again with the players that he's bringing in, and there's probably more to come in as well. It just lends itself to hopefully having a really good season and building on what we've done over the last few years.
Yeah, yeah, certainly is. One thing I'm curious to ask you about, Russ, is Dave Challoner's strengths, I think, over his time at Stockport County, and his career generally, to me, has been very much about building promotion-winning teams. And there has been a bit of, I suppose, a short-termism to that, in the sense of we've got to try and win in the here and now. Who do you want to get if you want to win it in the here and now in the lower leagues? It's probably Dave Challoner. I guess for a more developmental model, do you see that Dave Challoner has the coaching attributes to develop individual players that's going to suit the direction that the club want to go in at this stage of its trajectory?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've said it on our podcast many times. On this, let's call it a journey, shall we? I know people hate that. I hate it myself, really, but we're on this sort of path, aren't we? He's going to have to develop himself as well and learn new things, and I'm sure he will be. I've no doubt about it. He's such a great manager, and he's proved that already. He's had his own challenges when he's been at County. He's all right having the money to do things, money to bring players in, but like you say, the here and now. But you still got to get them in and create a team that wins football matches. So he's going to have to sort of change his way of his style. Maybe we're going to lose more than we've probably lost since Challoner's been here. Lose more matches because we are, in a bigger pond now. So that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge for the fans as well. We're going to have to lose more matches and see more home defeats probably than we have in the last 3, 4, maybe 5 years. I mean, since I think it's 2015, we've bettered our last league position.
Oh, wow.
I think there's in every season, and we're going to do that again this season because now we're in League One. So yeah, there's going to be challenges ahead. I hope he can adapt to those. I'm pretty confident he can. Intensity is our identity, I think is his saying. So I think we're still going to play that way. We're probably just going to take the game to teams, no matter if it's Birmingham or if it's Cambridge, whoever it is. We're still going to play like that. I still think he will have that in his sort of mentality that's the way we'll play. I don't think he'll adapt for other teams. I might be wrong. He could do, but that makes it exciting for us because we're going to go at teams no matter what, and that's the way he wants to play. So, yeah, I think there's definitely some development for him, but that's life. All the coaches will have to develop as we move up the divisions.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how Dave Challoner adapts, firstly, to the highest level he's ever managed at in his career, and also to a different sort of circumstances. So that's one thing that I'm slightly mindful of, but I think that's on the back burner for now because what he's achieved has been absolutely sensational. So let's have a look at the squad. You've signed Corey Adai, who's 6'6", and Metcalf, who's the goalkeeper from Middlesbrough, is 6'5". So you've certainly wanted to add some height to the goalkeeping department, where you've also got Ben Hinchcliffe, who's been such an important part of the journey that you've been on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ben's a legend. Mark Stott, put his foot down when it came to offering contracts. He said that in his interview. There was talk of Ben maybe getting a 1 year or possibly leaving like Madden and Sarcevic. But no, Stotty's put his foot down and said, look, this guy used to drive a truck whilst playing for the club when we were part-time. So he's definitely getting 2-year contract. So we love Ben. Will he be number one? That remains to be seen. Corey Adai is, probably I would say a step up in terms of the goalkeeping department. But if it was me, I'd give Ben a chance. He's not let us down since day one so far. So I think he deserves a chance in League One. He doesn't make it, most clean sheets last season, doesn't make mistakes much. So yeah, give him a chance. But yeah, I mean, we needed to strengthen in the goalkeeping department. Just so happens it happened all in one day. We signed 2 goalkeepers in one day, I think. So it's nice to get that one ticked off. But yeah, Corey Adai looks like a proper goalkeeper, and he was really good against us last season. And obviously played well in there in Crawley's playoff victory. So yeah, really looking forward to it. I hate to say I'm coming across as really, really positive, but I can't help it. I'm almost as positive as Matt from the Stevenage podcast. I'm sure I can reach those
very
levels.
high bar, Russ.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I know what you mean about Ben Hinchliffe, that feeling of he deserves it because of what he's done, and that sort of loyalty to someone who's been such an important part of what the club's achieved. I think it does come into it. At the same time, what I really like about Stockport, and it does help when you've got a few quid, and absolutely no denying that, but you have made some bold decisions. So, for instance, letting Ryan Croasdale go and bringing in somebody like Lewis Bate in midfield. I'm sure there's another example that I could pick out where you've kind of you've had the option of sticking with a player that's done really well for you. Anthony Sarcevic, for instance, was really good last season, and you've allowed him to be moved on. So I do feel like the club has got that ruthless streak in it, which I think you need if you want to make the progress that you're aiming for.
Yeah, I think we have got that ruthless streak in us, but it's done with respect. I don't think these players have just been cast aside. I think, Paddy Madden probably wanted 2 years. We couldn't give it him. And we just said, look, that's the honest thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's found a new club. Same with Sars, Croasdale. To be fair for Croasdale as well, he's always been our comfort blanket or safety blanket, if you like, in that central defensive midfield role. But towards the second half of last season, I think he was struggling a bit. I'll be honest with, especially in the bigger games. So I think it was right that he moved on to try and get himself first team football on a regular basis. I think the telling thing with all of these players that have left is, they go with our best wishes. Absolutely. Some of these are legends of the club, and they'll always be held in the highest regard for us. Is they've all gone to League Two clubs. Now I'd be more concerned if they'd left and gone to League One clubs. And I'd be then questioning, well, why are League One clubs picking these players up? But they're not. So that sort of fills us with confidence. But yeah, Croasdale. I mean, there's other examples as well. Burns gone to Bradford as well. So maybe the surprising one for me was probably Sarcevic. I thought he was nailed on to being our midfield next season. I'm a massive Sars fan. I thought he was exceptional. He's played at League One level before as well for Bolton. So that was probably really the only surprise for me. But yeah, the rest, I don't think there's any sort of two bigger shocks in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And fair play to Sars for having such a big season last year, because it's easy to forget the year before he was a little bit on the periphery, wasn't he? Let's come. Well, formation. I'm really curious about, Russ, because Dave Challoner, up until quite recently, I've always thought of as being a 3-5-2 disciple. Last season, I think you had your best winning streak with a 4-4-2 diamond. So I'm actually wondering if that's going to be your default formation next season.
Yeah, and I don't know either. I mean, I think I get the feeling the way the players have, the players that we've signed, it could probably switch between the two. Especially with the likes of Jay Mingy and Callum Connolly, they look like they could play in a 5 or in a 3 at the back, as well as with 4 at the back as well. So I think it's probably lending itself to being able to switch it up depending on who we're playing, if we're at home or away, or that kind of thing. So I'm excited to see what we do. I think in the past because of the injuries we had last season. Everybody had injuries last season. Don't get me wrong, but I think we had more than most.
Yeah.
I think he had to go with certain shapes because of personnel. Literally, that was the deciding factor. But with a clean bill of health next season, hopefully we'll be able to have that choice of, do we play back four this week, or do we play back three, or back five, whatever, the week after? And I think that's what the squad is starting to look like, and you can see that with the signings that we're making as well.
Yeah, actually, now you mention it, Jaden Fevrier, another signing from Colchester, like Jay Mingy. I think I'm not sure he would fit into a 4-4-2 diamond, because I think he would either play as a right wing back, or he would play on the right wing, sort of further forward. So if you went to a back four, he'd play further forward. Whereas I don't know, I'm not sure I could see him playing as a right back in a conventional back four. So that would be. Actually, does that mean that you're looking at a 4-2-3-1, or you're going to play 3-5-2 again?
Yeah, I think with Fevrier, listening to him in his interview, he definitely wants to play further forward. So I can see him not being used as a right wing back. Maybe in times that we need him to play there, he could, a bit like Hippolyte did on the odd occasion. But I get the sense that he's a final third player. So I think he'll be up there. Let's not forget we've got Noel and Southam Hales to play in that right wing back role should we need it, and they can both play right back as well.
Yeah.
Noel more defensive, I think, than Southam Hales. So Fevrier, I expect him to play as part of the attacking the attacking unit of the team.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that. The other signing you mentioned there was Callum Connolly, and as I've sort of written the squad out, I've put Callum Connolly in lots of different positions, because I've actually got no idea where he'll play. I mean, I would say he's probably a central midfielder by trade when he came through the academy, but he filled in at left back last season for Blackpool for one game. He's filled in at right back at clubs before. He played most often centre back for Blackpool last season. Probably would be on the more defensive side of the spectrum if he was playing in midfield, but yeah, again, a really versatile option, which could be handy if you have the sort of injury crisis you had last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what he's been brought in for. So he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife, isn't he, by all accounts? Yeah, I mean, looking at him, I'd not really known about Callum Connolly before he came to County, to be quite honest. But it looks like you're right, centre back, maybe central defensive midfielder, can play left, can play right. It just depends. So I can see him being a really important player for us next season. Again, he's got some height on him as well. He's what is he, 6'1", 6'2", maybe. So yeah, looking really good. And I think it feels like he's a direct replacement for Neil Byrne, who obviously went off to Bradford, and maybe he's a step up from that. Well, I'm pretty sure he's a step up from Neil Byrne. So looking forward to where he can play. And he will, just going back to what we said before, he will fit into whether we need to play 4 at the back or 5 at the back or whatever. If he can slot into midfield as well, then great. I think, again, it all lends itself to being versatile depending on who we're playing and the styles of football they play as well as we want to play.
Okay, well, that certainly makes sense. So, centre half then, how important do you think Will Fraser Horsfall is going to be this season?
I think he'll be priceless. I think I've got a feeling he'll be our captain next season because he wore the armband when Madden and Sars weren't there. I think he did have it at some point. I'm sure County fans will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he wore it. So I think he will be the captain next season. He'll be instrumental next season, I'm sure. Just a really good Rolls Royce of a footballer at central defence. Callum Connolly coming in. Obviously, we've got Ethan Pye as well. Torre, they can all play there. Torre more left-sided than the others. So, yeah, it'll be good, and he'll have players around him. Last season, the biggest defeat we had at Tranmere, Horsfall wasn't playing. It was 4-0. Either side of that, we looked solid throughout the whole of the season.
Well, Horsfall came back in at Gillingham and you kept a clean sheet straight away.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Ended up going on a good run after that. So shows how important he is.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Ethan Pye and how he's developing, Russ.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's miraculous, really. So he went off. He wasn't really on the radar. He'd got a couple of games for us, looked okay. Went to Gateshead on loan. I think he was some sort of like young player of the year for them or something. He was winning man of the matches. Came back through necessity because we had our injury problems and looked just amazing. Slotted in next to Fraser Horsfall. Looked like he'd been playing at League Two level for years, and has just developed quicker than anybody would have imagined. So he's almost like it's one of the first players on the on the team sheet now. Him and Rydell are two of the players that have come through. Let's say our academy, but they come through our system. You've been with us a long time, and they look like they're going to give us the most value in terms of maybe in the future when we have to sell them on, because I'm sure that will come. I feel like Ethan Pye and Rydell, just to mention them two, will probably outgrow us quicker, sooner rather than later. So, yeah, Ethan Pye's been great, and what a great player as well.
Is Rydell under contract for next season? Because did I miss him on the retained list or?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's just been in. He's had a bad injury last season, so he'd not featured at all. I don't think. But yeah, right. No, he might have featured earlier in the season. Can't remember. But yeah, he's under contract, and I think he might have signed an extension actually, if memory serves. Maybe I should have looked that up. Right. But yeah, he's one of ours, and we're going to protect him because we do feel like, or I certainly feel like, somebody will come in for him if he carries on the same trajectory that he has been doing.
Yeah, he's so aggressive and energetic, isn't he, Ryan Rydell?
Yeah.
So central midfield. I'm thinking at the base of midfield, Russ. You've got, in terms of your options, Callum Connolly can play there. You've got Callum Camps there, and you've got Ashton Mee, who's come to the academy. I'm not sure I'd expect him to play loads next season, but I'm just wondering, are we looking at maybe one more marquee signing as a sort of CDM, if you like, at the base of midfield, or do you think you're done for midfielders?
It feels like we're done. I think Lewis Bate will play there. So,
okay, right.
Yeah, I definitely see Lewis Bate as the sort of Crowsdale version 2.0, if you like. Okay. So, obviously, ran down his contract at Leeds. Leeds paid a fee for him, 1.2 million, I think, from I want to say Chelsea. Might be wrong there. So he's definitely. I feel like he's that marquee signing. Okay. Really good in tight areas. I think he'll play that central defensive midfield role, or central midfield role with a defensive mindset.
Okay.
So that's where I think he will play. I don't think we're going to strengthen any more in central midfield. But then again, I could be wrong because there are a few slots left in the squad. So there's probably 3 or 4 left that we can fill. So that's where I see that being covered.
Yeah, my feeling on Lewis Bate has been he's probably better when you do give him a bit more freedom to operate, maybe more like an 8 than a 6, which is why I'm not sure I necessarily see him as a like-for-like replacement for Crowsdale, but I can definitely see that he has a lot more quality, and I'm excited to see what he can bring, because I do think that's a great addition. Again, Will Collar's another one who's come up with you on this on your journey. How important do you think he's going to be this season?
Yeah, massively. I think box to box Will Collar, brilliant player. I've loved him from the moment he touched a football in a Stockport County kit. I could just see his touch, and I said to my mates on WhatsApp, I said, he's going to be a player for us, an absolute player. I was convinced if we were to sell him on, it'd be for 7 figures. So yeah, he's going to be instrumental. He was unlucky again with injury last season. He'll put his head into places that most others won't as well. So, he's wore a bandage a few times. We love him. He's great. Box to box, like I said. So, yeah, he's going to be really important for us. Brings loads of energy as well. And like you say, he's been with us for a while, since National League. So I've got no doubt he can manage to step up to League One.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully that's going to be the case. What do you think the season holds for Odin Bailey, Russ? Because I actually thought, again, in that winning streak, he looked pretty handy on the left side of that midfield diamond.
Yeah, I think Odin Bailey's going to be important again. I think, I know I'm saying it a lot, a lot of them are going to be important, but they are, they've all the players have got value. We don't carry many passengers. They don't tend to allow that, which is great. But Odin Bailey, yeah, obviously played for Birmingham in his younger days, probably lost his way a bit at Salford, and we've picked him up and he's played really, really well for us, been great for us. I'm hoping he can step up to League One. It's his time. He's got the he's got the ability. I think it's whether it happens for him. But yeah, love him. He can play off the right, play off the left, play through the centre. Makes things happen. He's always looking forward when he gets the ball. Dead positive. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do because he's definitely got it. He's proved it. I think he's scored for Birmingham in the championship. I think he played for you in the championship. So he's definitely
against Middlesbrough.
Yeah, so he can definitely do it. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And again, one of those ones where say it a lot. We're investing in the future, trying to drive value out of the players. He's one that could be massive value for us.
Certainly could. Nick Powell then, Russ. He had, I think, a bit of a slow burner last season, wasn't he? Because after being a marquee addition from Stoke, because well, in that midfield diamond, it was Anthony Sarcevic at the tip, and then you had Colin Croasdale being so reliable, and then you had Owen Bailey, who we've just mentioned. So actually, Powell couldn't quite find his space, but towards the back end of the season, or second half of the season, certainly with injuries, he came to the fore a bit more, and he's got obvious quality, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Like bags and bags of quality. He's way ahead of us in terms of where he is in terms of quality and what we are at the moment. I think he's a championship player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He just sees things that other players don't, and that was telling. Other players had to sort of adapt their game to him. He was making passes and seeing things that players weren't running for. They were checking and then thinking, "Oh God, well I should have gone there." I think it started to work late on last season especially with Evans and Alafi. They were starting to read it, but as we get these better players, they will know that instantly, probably, hopefully. But yeah, he's great. He just looks like he's got loads of time, and that's because he makes it himself with the quality he's got. It's like the slow play paradox, where it looks like he doesn't know. It looks like he's lazy, but he's not. He's just so good at being in the right position and having that time on the ball. And the Wrexham match, when we lost 2-1 on the last day of the season, him and Barry came off at half time, which that's where the game got away from us. But in that first half with him and Barry, especially him, Wrexham couldn't lay a glove on us. He was just, he was nutmegging players to fit, with through balls and things like that. So he's going to be, I just can't wait to see him and what he can do with these better players like Jack Diamond on one wing, Jaden Fevrier on another, Alafi through the middle, this kind of thing. It's just going to be so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Powell with pace around him is going to be one to watch, I think. So, yeah, really excited to see whether he can have a big season in League One next year. But I'm looking at the attack, Russ. I definitely think I'm really hoping that you're able to get Louis Barry back fit. I don't know any. Have you got a feeling on whether that's going to be likely?
I mean, I don't think anybody knows. The club have been really, really good actually at keeping things under wraps. Normally, there's rumours going about, and everybody knows what's going on, and they've heard that someone sat next to the mum and that spoke to the dog and all this kind of thing. But he seems to be under wraps. So I would love it if we got Barry back. He's a cheat code at League Two level. Would love to see him at League One level. He likes the place. We know that his dad likes the place as well, and they all speak positively about County. I'd love to get him back. I don't know if we will. Possibly. I mean, it would just make our season. I think that would be the sort of the last jigsaw piece if we got him, because you could imagine him on one wing again, Jack Diamond, Jaden Fevrier, on other, Odin Bailey, like we've said, on making up that attack with Alafi, Wootton, probably one more other to come in. Maybe Stretton's back as well from injury. So yeah, it looks really exciting. And if we get Barry back, then that could be worth more points to us than maybe if we didn't have him.
I'm wondering, actually, are we looking at possibly a 4-3-3 if Barry was to return with maybe Fevrier on the right, Barry on the left, and then someone like Ollie Offa up top?
Yeah, I think so. Again, it's another formation that's probably in our toolbox. Barry played on the left. He played on a bit on the right as well, but more sort of drifting from the left. Yeah, I can see that. I can see Fevrier on the right. I can see Jack Diamond doing something as well within that sort of attacking setup. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it'd be lovely to see him back, but we just got to cross our fingers and toes to hopefully he will come back.
Fingers crossed for that. Isaac Oliofe was probably your best striker last season. Jack Stretton was absent for much of it, and Carl Wootton maybe wasn't quite as important as he was the year before. But certainly in Isaac Oliofe, you've got someone who had a really big season last year.
Yeah, Tanto's been great. He was on fire last season, as the song goes. Really great. Sort of. He's a bit of a weird one, really, because he's short but he's really strong, and he is also a great header of the ball, which you don't necessarily associate with small players. But he's great in the air. He's a nuisance in the box. He's got a strike on him as well. So I think he's going to spearhead our attack next season. And again, he's another one that obviously young came in League Two. He could probably go into the Championship with us or with another club. So I think he's definitely one that's developing pretty fast. So he's got a lot of speed as well, so he can get in behind. He's I wouldn't say he's the complete striker. I don't think things such exist in League One, but you've got a quick player that can get in behind. He can head the ball, bit of a fox in the box as well. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it, for a League One club to have a player with that much talent in one body.
Certainly is. So, if we were to say, have a look at how close we've already said the expectation for Stockport County would be top half, or certainly comfortable mid-table. So, if we have a look at the a best 11, you've certainly got lots of squad depth, which I think is a great position to be in. If we were to look at a best 11, how close you are to 11 that's up to that sort of standard, feel free to kind of chip in here. But I think Fraser Horsfall's definitely going to be at that level that you need. I'm not quite sure I'm ready to commit on Corey Adai being sort of top half standard in terms of the short term. So I would say that one's to be seen. I think definitely Nick Powell in midfield. Definitely Isaac Oliofe. And I would probably go with maybe Jay Mingy. So those would be my sort of 4-ish. So I think you've got about 4 players there, and Lewis Bate, who I'd probably add to that, and maybe Callum Connolly as well. So six, I would say. Anyone you would add to that, or any you'd question who are quite at the level in terms of starting players?
Yeah, probably. I mean, let's start with the questionable ones first. There's probably 1 or 2, and I think Torre is probably in there who I would question. He had, let's just say, an underwhelming season last season by his own admission as well, and Challoner spoke about it. So I think there's still more to see from Torre. Really struggled in some areas of play, but then started to show what he could do in certain flashes. So I think the jury's still out with that one. The other one questionable for me as well is you've already mentioned in Wootton. I don't know, it's weird. He seemed to struggle a bit last season. Didn't have as good a season as he had the season before. So he went from sort of us worrying that he wasn't in the squad because he was injured and hoping he'd come back and waiting for him to come back, to when he was back, wasn't really getting a look in, and when he was playing, didn't seem to affect the game that much. Might be doing him a disservice there. So they're the 2 questionable ones for me. I think ones that you've missed out, perhaps, that I do think are of that standard, and it's probably gone under the radar, is probably Jack Diamond. So because he's come from Sunderland, hasn't he? Obviously had a bit of a torrid time recently. That's all behind him now. So he's probably I'd say, top half League One, if not Championship level. He just needs somewhere where he can settle down now, develop himself, get some game time. I think that's probably one where, it's gone under the radar slightly.
I completely agree with you, because I think before the whole court case, which he's been unanimously proved innocent in, he was actually finding really good form for Lincoln City, and then obviously his mind was elsewhere, which absolutely human nature. But in terms of ability, he's definitely got that. But I'm kind of going to urge a little bit of caution with Jack Diamond, just because I know that he's got this is a bit of a rebuilding phase in his career. So I think to expect him to really hit the heights straight away might be a bit too much pressure. So I'm going to sort of urge a little bit of caution for now. But I think it's an impact.
Yeah, I think maybe hit the heights. I mean, you might do it. The thing we've got with County is at the moment, and what we're trying to build is, and Wilson says it in interviews. Mark Stott does as well, that it's a really nice environment to be in. So we've got a really nice training ground. It's of a championship quality. Everyone's valued. We've got a really good squad of camaraderie. Challoner sets your expectations. There's no I would say, I don't know, dicking about with players and things. So
Yeah.
it's if he's gonna hit the ground running and he wants somewhere to sort of start to rebuild his career. Not that I don't think it needs rebuilding. He just needs game time, doesn't he? And he needs somewhere where he can relax and be safe and say, right, you're going to play, and this is how much you're going to play, and things like that. Then there's no better place than County. So if he's going to do it anywhere, it will be at County. And I think I think he's picked a really good environment to come into. So I'm hoping we'll have a player on our hands once he settles down and things start moving for him.
Yeah, certainly. And again, the big strength I think you've got is already I can see 15, 20 players who I feel like could make some sort of impact. They might not necessarily be star players, but they'll be competitive in a League One level. So I think that's a really great position to be in. And I also think that you're building a squad, like with the recruitment that you've talked about, players like Fevrier, like Mingy, like Corey Adai, who are going to develop. Even a couple of years ago, signing Isaac Oliofe when he wasn't necessarily Super League One proven at the time, but you could see that he had the potential, and you signed him down to a 3-year deal, and I think you've since extended that. So again, it does seem to be a club that is thinking a bit about the long term, which I think is really exciting. Yeah. So, with that in mind, what's the biggest reason to believe that you'll meet your ambition this season?
Good question. I think the recruitment is probably the way it's been done. We've gone early than maybe the other clubs, and I think we've signed quality in the areas that we needed to sign them. That's what makes me believe it. We've still got 3 or 4 places where up for grabs where we could sign permanent players. We've got the loan market to dip into as well, and we've got these. I don't know. It just feels like the messaging coming out of the club. It's all almost like we're spring loading ourselves to get into the championship. The recruitment is based on players that can give us value in the end. Do you know what I mean? We're gonna develop them. Okay, they can play now. They're gonna get game time and develop themselves. Not least as well, all the other messages that are coming out of the club about the Edgeley Park being developed. Those plans are in detail now, so that it's happening. There's no, it's not like, oh yeah, we're going to do it, but nothing's been said about it. It's happening. The plans are there, and the academy's driving forward as well. So one particular exciting bit about that for me was, and this is maybe how geeky I am, but we're going to get a dome. Stockport County have never had a dome in our lives. We used to go on to bloody school playing fields and things. So yeah, so that's exciting. So it's all geared up to achieving our aims, and I don't see why we can't within the next 3 years get into the championship, and that's the goal. So next season, yeah, mid-table would be fantastic. Anything above is a bonus. Maybe a nice little cup run wouldn't go amiss because we've not had one of those for a while. So yeah, that's what fills me with confidence. It's just the way that everything's been done. The messaging out of the club as well is not. It's not, sensationalism or anything like that. It's all seems to be controlled and measured. Here's the plan. Here's what we're going to do, and then we tick off each box as we go along, and it's just fantastic to see.
Certainly is. What's your biggest reason for doubt?
Biggest reason for doubt. It's probably. I mean, the only thing I can think of is if it does. If the wheels start to fall off and we don't get a good start, I mean, I'm just worried that maybe the fans will get restless because we've been used to winning football matches, We've got a load of new fans as well, which is great. So we're swelling that fan base. We've sold out our 6,500 season tickets, so we're swelling that. I just wonder if perhaps if we start to lose a few matches and things don't go as well as maybe they should do. I know Challoner's a really good manager, but he has had his time at Fylde where it didn't go so well. I think that ended up in him leaving. It could happen. It's football at the end of the day. We might, as a fan base, snowball that by getting restless, which every fan base does. I know we're not special in that regard. So, Yeah, exactly. So that's the only doubt in my mind. Everything else, honestly, there's a big green tick next to it. So,
Yeah. Or a big
I'm
blue
not
tick.
sure. Or a big blue tick. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. So with that in mind, give me your level of optimism to denote give me a number between 1 and 10 to denote your level of optimism for that your ambitions are going to be realised.
For me, it's 9 or 10 out of 10. That's my optimism.
Right.
I'm pretty sure if you ask most county fans, they'd be up there. Absolutely, they would, because everything seems to be, like I say, promises made, promises delivered so far. So there's no reason to be pessimistic about it. That might change. I mean, we're going to plateau at some point. We've got to, all this investment. I just hope that when we do plateau, we are what Mark Stott wants us to be, which is sustainable, with an academy that brings in players, recruiting in the right areas, recruiting wisely. So, definitely, it's got to be 9 or 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I'm not quite on
There
Matt's
you go.
level, but yeah.
Absolutely, got a long way to go, Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, thanks so much for your insight. It's been great to pick your brains on Stockport County. Thanks so much for your time. This has been the EFL Debate Summer Deep Dive on the Hatters. Get your comments in below. Let me know what you think Stockport are going to do next season. Subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. Leave us a review on Spotify if you've enjoyed this podcast. And we'll see you again very soon.
Cheers.